Hey friends, we've been, kind of neglecting our little series on the neighborhood districts of Bend. So today, on the precipice of fall, I mean, it is coming. It's going to be fall any day now. I'm kind of bummed. I was really loving summer. Anyway, we're going to talk about Old Bend, and it's old. I mean, this is kind of where it all began. In fact, there are two historic districts here in Bend, and they're both in this particular neighborhood. So we're going to get to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a walking tour. Let's get after it. So we're walking around Old Bend, and first of all, it's beautiful. I mean, the trees are large and mature and fully grown, and all of the yards are well kept and beautiful. I mean, they should be, because this is a pretty expensive place to live, and the fact that it's so old and historic. I mean, many of these homes are well over 100 years old. Actually, hold on, let's talk about where we actually are right now. Okay, so if you're looking at a map, basically from Colorado Street north to Franklin, and then from 3rd Street to the east all the way west to the Deschutes River. It's kind of the river kind of has a bend in it. And so that's the neighborhood district that we're talking about right now, okay? All right, so an interesting story. I was doing some research for this video, and I found the story on the street names. It's kind of interesting. Back in 1912, all of the streets here in this area were either states or trees. So like Oregon, Minnesota, Ohio, Kentucky, and then trees like pine and alder. Then in 1916, just 4 years later, they did a complete overhaul of all the street names in the area. Instead of states and trees, they moved to different states and no trees at all, just more states. So if you're looking at a map right now and hoping to find a bunch of tree-named streets in Old Bend, you won't find it. But there are plenty of states: Arizona, Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Georgia. It's fun and a great indicator of the area of town you're in. Now, technically, there are two actual historic district areas within this neighborhood district, so let's outline them really quickly. There's this area right in front of Muir Pond and Drake Park. They're including Congress, State Street, Tumalo, and Riverside. I mean, my goodness, what a great area. And then there's this little area to the east from Broadway, east past Wall, Bond, Stats, Lava, Sizemore, all the way to Hill Street. Yep, see it right there on the map. And as for the amenities in the area, come on, we're in downtown Bend. Between Wall and Bond and all the shopping you can do there, you know, the brew pubs, and then we've got Drake Park and the river and Muir Pond. You can float the river, you can go to the park and walk. It's just kind of like the best area. It's a really special place. Hold on, you don't think it's called Drake Park because of all the ducks around here, right? No, it's not Drake like a Drake the duck. It's actually Drake Park, named after Alexander Drake, who was the founder of Bend. He saw something pretty special about this whole area a long, long time ago, and actually also even started the first mill here in town. Huh. All right, now this is normally the part of the kind of episode where I would talk about some of the more individual neighborhoods within this district, but here there really aren't any. I mean, this is just the original downtown city of Bend, right? And like I said before, this neighborhood is over 100 years old. In fact, here's something that I didn't really think about before. Now, Bend was originally founded in 1905, but it's not like there was nobody here in 1904 and then boom, everything just happened to be here in 1905. So, I mean, some of these homes were actually here a long time before that. In fact, early settlers came to this area in 1870, like 35 years before the founding of Bend. So some of these homes are even older than that. I hated history when I was younger. Now it's super neat. So on the county records, there are technically a few different areas that technically have different names. There's, you know, Bend Addition, there's Stats Addition, Chutes, but it doesn't really matter because there aren't neighborhoods, there aren't HOAs. This is just kind of the area, right? It's just a total mixed bag of different kinds of homes when you come down here. It's really cool. Some of these homes were built back in the 1900s. Some of them were built like in the 1970s. It just all depends on where you're at, exactly what block, if a lot's been developed or split up or not. But it's really interesting to see all of the different kinds of homes that you have down here. Some of them are colonial, some of them are craftsmen. It's just wild. It's a really cool take to come down here and take in the history of these Bend neighborhoods. All right, so before we get any further into this, let's just talk about a couple of things real quick, because way back in the day, building standards were a little different than they are today. So there's a few things to consider. First of all, these homes are old. Yeah, John, we got that, they're old. But really, a home is 100 years old. I mean, not only are the systems outdated, like the electrical, water, plumbing, stuff like that outdated, but in many cases, even if they've been updated, there are still areas of the house that they can't get to. And so if they can't get to them, they haven't been updated at all. So just because 90% of the water lines have been replaced doesn't mean that that 10% area that you can't get to isn't about to kind of explode on you, which would be bad. Also, it's important to know that even if it has been updated, it might still need to be updated again, because 100 years is a long span of time. Even if you've had electrical that was 30 or 40 years ago, it may still be time for an upgrade. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about real quick is the size of the homes here. Now, this is going to vary greatly as we're approaching a monster of a mansion right now, but for the most part, a lot of the homes in this historic district are much smaller because homes of 100 years ago in general were smaller. So 12 to 1500 is kind of a range that you would see normally. Now, another neighborhood district that's an old district is called River West. It's on the west side of the Deschutes River, and we'll probably talk about that in one of our future neighborhood videos. But homes over there usually range about 900 square feet because they were some of the original mill houses where they housed all the mill workers. Point is, homes of a long time ago, in general, are much smaller than they are today. Next up is basements. Now, a lot of these older homes have basements, and a lot of homes back in the Midwest, I'm aware, all have basements because, you know, tornadoes. But in the modern building world here in Oregon, we don't do basements, right? But back then we did. So, a couple of reasons for that. One, A, storage, lots of great storage under the house. B, it's not frozen storage, it's below the frost line, so even water lines have a better time down there because they don't freeze. And C, because it does allow for easier access to some of those systems like electrical, water, plumbing, stuff like that. I've been in tons of homes here in the area that have basements, usually great, nice, clean, dry, well kept, so it's not an issue, it's a pretty cool thing. And finally, lot sizes. They still do not have big lots here, except for this one. This is an outlier. This thing's huge. Now, the last thing that I kind of want to mention before we kind of move forward with this is, like, if downtown living is your thing and you want to be here in the historic district, that's awesome. That's your jam, great. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a word of caution, a warning. So you see, it's busy down here. It can be kind of congested, right? So there's a lot of tourists. There's a lot of things that go on. If it's, you know, like a parade or a festival or a city event, there's all kinds of things that happen down here because it's downtown. So basically, you gotta be ready for this congestion. There could be people parked in front of your house all the time, people walking around all the time. Again, unless you get if you're just off the beaten path, that's great. But if you want one of these really awesome homes right in the heart of it, just be prepared to deal with a little bit of congestion and tourism. Something else to consider would be hiring us for your next real estate transaction. If you've been following us for a while, you know the whole deal. If you or somebody you know is looking to buy or sell here in the area, my team and I would love to be your local real estate resource of choice. You can reach out to us at krommrealestate.com or just search our direct contact information down below in the link. Thanks so much. We'll see you over in the next video.